Let me ask you something, especially if you're one of the many Canadian investors out there on platforms like Wealthsimple or Questrade. You buy some US stocks, you pop them in your tax-free savings account, and you think, great, I'm all set, tax-free growth, right? Well, maybe not. Have you ever really looked at the dividend payments that hit your account from US companies? You get that notification, but the number, it just seems a little off, a little smaller than you were expecting. Well, there's a really good reason for that, and honestly, it's kind of a silent portfolio killer. So we're talking about a small percentage, right? How much of a difference can it really make? Well, let's break it down and see just how much this tiny little leak can cost you with every single dividend payment. Okay, let's make this super clear with an example. Just imagine you've invested in a really solid US dividend company, and bam, they've just paid out. Your slice of the pie is a nice, clean $1,000. It's headed straight for your account. And this is where things get really interesting. This is where the path splits. If that US stock is sitting in your RRSP, you get the whole thing, the full $1,000. But if it's in your TFSA, the IRS takes a $150 cut right off the top before that money even crosses the border. You're left with just $850. I mean, that's $150 gone from a single payment? That's huge. And look, it's so important not to think of this as just $150. You've got to think about what happens when that loss compounds over and over for 20, 30 years. Every single dividend you get is 15% smaller. That means you have 15% less money to reinvest and let grow. That small leak, it absolutely becomes a flood, and it can wash away tens of thousands of dollars from your retirement savings. Okay, so you're probably wondering why. Why does this even happen? Is it some kind of mistake your broker is making? Nope, it's not a mistake. This is all built into the rules of a tax treaty between the US and Canada, and it all comes down to how the American tax system looks at your two accounts. And the culprit has a name. It's called a withholding tax. Basically, it's a standard 15% tax that the US government slaps on dividends they pay out to any foreign investor. It's taken at the source, which is just a fancy way of saying it's gone before you even see it. Now, you'd think there'd be a fix for this, right? And there is. Sort of. The US and Canada have a tax treaty specifically designed to stop these kinds of foreign taxes from being unfair. But, and this is the big but, the treaty doesn't treat all our Canadian investment accounts the same. And boom, here it is. This is the absolute core of the issue. When the IRS in the States looks at a Canadian RRSP, it recognizes it. It's like, oh, okay, this looks like our 401k. It sees it as a legitimate retirement account and it gives it a VIP pass, no tax. But when it looks at a TFSA, it has no idea what that is. To them, it's just a regular brokerage account. No special status, no special treatment. So, bam, 15% tax. Okay, I can hear you thinking right now, you're probably saying, whoa, hold on a second. The entire point of my TFSA is that I don't pay any tax when I take the money out in retirement. Isn't that way better than paying tax on my RRSP withdrawals down the road? And you know what? That is the million-dollar question. Yet this is the classic RRSP versus TFSA debate, right? Do you dodge that 15% tax hit right now just to pay income tax on everything you pull out later? Or do you eat that 15% loss today for the promise of completely tax-free cash in the future? Well, the answer, as it so often is in finance, is it really depends on your situation. So figuring out where to park your US dividend stocks really comes down to making a smart bet on your future income. I mean, if you're a high-income earner right now and you're pretty sure you'll be in a lower tax bracket when you retire, then the RRSP is a total no-brainer. You get a nice tax deduction today and you skip that 15% withholding tax. But if your income is lower now, or, and this is a big one, if you want to protect your government benefits in retirement, think old age security, then maybe, just maybe, keeping that income out of your taxable RRSP withdrawals is worth the 15% hit today. All right, so let's tie all this together. With all this info, how do we actually build the most tax-smart portfolio we can? The key here isn't about picking one account and ditching the other. No, it's about using both of them for what they're best at. It's about strategy. So here it is. This is your game plan, your blueprint. You need to start thinking of your RRSP as your dedicated U.S. tax shelter. That's where you put all your high-dividend U.S. stocks, your U.S. REITs, your U.S.-listed ETFs. Let them live there, safe from that 15% tax. Meanwhile, your TFSA, that becomes your Canadian hub. Fill it with Canadian dividend stocks, which have their own awesome tax advantages, by the way, and it's also the perfect spot for those big US growth stocks. You know, your Apples, your Nvidias, companies that pay tiny dividends, if any. Because if there's no dividend, there's no withholding tax to worry about. And that is why this works so perfectly. It's a really powerful, super efficient system when you set it up this way. You're playing to the unique strengths of each account. Your RRSP is like a fortress, protecting your US dividend income stream. And your TFSA is your tax-free growth engine for everything else. See? You're not just randomly buying stocks anymore. You're being strategic. You're building a structure to keep more of your money working for you. So, I'm going to leave you with this one final thought.